This is a OMWBE and King County certifications with Caleb McIndale, that's myself, and Laura Preftis. So we're talking about just a sort of a brief overview of what we're going to talk about today. First of all, I'm going to talk a little bit about our certifications for women and minority-owned business at the state level. Then King County is going to talk, Laura's going to talk about King County's SES Small Business Certification at the King County level. And then we're going to both talk a little bit about sort of the certification directory that both of us use. We use the same software, and some tips for businesses that are seeking to get certified and then businesses that are already certified as well. So first of all, I'm going to talk about our organization. We are the Office of Minority and Women's Business Enterprises. We're part of the state government, and we certify small businesses, primarily those that are owned by women and minorities. So business owners will provide us with information about their company, and our agency verifies that those companies meet the certification criteria. We offer two primary types of certification. We have a state certification and then a federal certification. So these are sort of big buckets of different certification types that we provide, and I'm going to go into some more detail about what those certifications actually are and what they're for. So first of all, the federal certification is for transportation projects that are funded by the U.S. Department of Transportation. So some examples of some of these pieces of work would be the SR 99 tunnel project, a lot of the link light rail expansions, lots of major highway transit projects, ferries projects, things like that. Also projects at the airport, so construction projects there, or also concession work at the airport as well. Can be it's underneath this certification. But it is specific to the transportation industry and then any work to support that. So it's not just construction, but it can be consulting and other work related to that, but it is more narrowly tailored to the transportation industry. We also have a state certification that's just through the Washington state, and that's a much broader certification, and it covers any work or product that state agencies or public entities want to purchase. And that also gives you access to one of our loan programs, but many companies have both certifications, and the certification criteria for the state and the federal certification are nearly identical. There's only very, very minute differences. So I would say the majority of businesses that are certified through us have both certifications. The individual certification types that we offer are broken down into a number of specific types, and because we're the government, there's quite a few acronyms here. Please excuse us. I'm going to explain these really briefly, just to give you an idea of what they are, but if you have some more questions about them, I can be happy to answer. So underneath the federal certification, there's three certification types. We offer what's called the Disadvantaged Business Enterprise, or DBE program. If you've heard of the federal certifications before, it's probably through this program, and that's for women or minority-owned businesses working on transportation projects. There's also the ACDBE, that's specific for airport concession businesses, and that's for women and minority-owned airport concession businesses. There's also a federal small business enterprise certification. This is available for businesses owned by people with any race or gender, but they still have to be a small business and have to be economically disadvantaged, which I will get to. So those certifications are somewhat different. The DBEs for construction for minority and women-owned businesses, the ACDBs for concessions for minority and women-owned businesses, and the SPE is for small businesses in the construction realm, but is race and gender neutral. We also have state certifications. So this is the more broad certification type that's available for any, working anything that a state wants to purchase, from state-funded construction projects to purchasing, pens or consulting, anything like that. And there's a number of different certification types here. They're mostly broken down just for demographic purposes. There isn't a difference in the benefit that these certifications provide. So if you're a minority male-owned business, you get the MBE, or Minority Business Certification. Or if you're a minority woman-owned business, you get the MWBE. If you're a non-minority woman-owned business, then you get the WBE. And there's two special case certifications for people that don't fit these rubrics perfectly. And and I'm going to get into the final one there later in this presentation. But if you do have some questions and you think you might be eligible for certification, but you don't quite fit these groups, please let me know. So why should businesses get certified with our agency? So first of all, it just makes your business more competitive, particularly when you're trying to work with the state government. So for federally funded transportation projects that I mentioned, those all have mandatory goals for participation for certified firms. What that means is that whenever a contractor wins one of those projects, they have to subcontract out a certain percentage of that work to certified businesses. If they don't do that, they could face monetary sanctions or even be debarred. So that makes your certified businesses on those federally funded transportation projects incredibly, it makes them very, very good for them to get work. Makes it easy and makes them very marketable. So you become much more competitive on those projects if you do have that federal certification. But that is limited to the federally funded transportation projects. State agencies and universities also have supplier diversity goals from the governor's office for using that state certification. They're not mandatory goals currently, but it still helps give your business a leg up against other companies when they're contracting with the state. Also, some private companies will also use our certifications for meeting their own corporate supplier diversity goals. The state has no control over how those companies use them, but I do know that some major companies like Microsoft and Boeing and Costco use our certifications in meeting their own goals as well. Also, some other benefits of our certification is it increases your business's visibility just by inclusion on a directory. So anyone who's looking to do business with women and minority-owned companies can search for your company and find you on our directory. It also just makes it much easier for you to do work with the state because all of your information is located in one place. And many state agencies have policies to conduct outreach specifically to businesses that we certify and make them aware of contracting opportunities. And it makes it easier for them to find you for small procurements that wouldn't be publicly posted as well. Additionally, any firm that has the state certification is eligible for our link deposit loan program, which can provide an up to 2% interest rate reduction on small business loans, so long as those loans are with participating banks. There's more information about that on our website. That's a program that I personally manage. So if you do have any questions, I'm happy to answer that for you as well. So when we're looking at the certification qualifications or what a business needs in order to be eligible for certification, first of all companies need to be licensed to do business in Washington. That's pretty basic, but everyone needs to be legally allowed to do business here before we can get started. The business needs to have legally started, but you don't need to be in business for a certain period of time in order to get certified. There's no limitation on 6 months or anything like that. You can have done no work yet, but as long as you have a tax ID number, you can get started. An eligible individual, and I'll get into that in a little bit, has to own at least 51% of the business. This can be one person or it can be a group of people together that owns at least 51% of the company. And then those individuals that make up that 51 or more percent ownership also need to control the company. And that's from a managerial standpoint, sort of at the higher level, but also at the lower level as well. So they can't hire a general manager to sort of do all the work for the company and sort of sit back and collect a check. That type of business would not be eligible for certification. Likewise, whenever a business applies for certification, and we'll get into this in the directory in a bit more detail, a business will indicate what line of work they perform. For OMWBE certification, firms have to show us that they're able to independently perform that type of work. What that looks like really depends on the industry, but typically what businesses are going to have to show us is that the owners have the necessary skills and experience to control a company in that type of work, and the company itself has the necessary staff, licenses, and equipment to do the work that's necessary. A consulting company might not need a lot, just a laptop and the knowledge in someone's head, but if you're doing concrete pumping, you need access to a concrete pumping truck. You won't need to necessarily own it, but you would need to show us that you can get one to do the work that you want to do. For when I was mentioning eligible owners, there's going to be some caveats here, specifically for that small business certification that I mentioned, which is race and gender neutral. For that specific certification, this does not apply because it's available for anyone, regardless of whether you're a woman or minority. But for all other certification types that we offer, this does apply. So for everything but the small business, individuals have to be what the law calls socially and economically disadvantaged. And what the rules say for this is that anyone who's a woman or minority is automatically deemed to be socially disadvantaged without making any showing on their part. So effectively, that means women or minorities they just have to sign a form and they're eligible for certification under this piece. However, other people can make an individual showing of social disadvantage. What that means is that someone who doesn't neatly fit into one of the categories that were listed previous on the last slide, for example, someone from a religious minority or someone who's disabled, can still show that they've faced discrimination in US society because of an objective characteristic of themselves, and the business can still get certified. So that, it's not just for women and minorities, but for women and minority-owned businesses, it's a bit simpler of a process. However, regardless of whether you're a woman or minority, or all of our certifications that we're looking at, including our small business certification, it's only available to individuals who the law calls are economically disadvantaged. This is a pretty complex analysis, but generally speaking, it's defined as the owners having a personal net worth of less than $1.32 million. And that's without looking at your personal residence, so that the value of your home, if you own it, isn't included in that. And additionally, the value of your business applying for certification is also not included. So if you do think that our certifications might be beneficial for your company, you can get certified by going to our website. It's an all online application where you can start your application and apply for certification through that, all online. From there, you can choose state or federal, and if you do want both the state certification and the federal certification, we can process that in one application. If you just start the federal application, the first question of that application will be, do you also want state certification? You can just say yes. There's a very small fee involved. It's $25 for the federal certification, and that will get you both state and federal if you're looking for it. The application is pretty detailed. We will look for a lot of information about your company, documents, and answering questions and how your company got started, who does what. We're happy to help with any questions you might have on the application, or any sort of anything you don't understand. And we also have some other webinars that go through this in a bit more detail about, okay, exactly what does the application look like, what types of documents there are. And if you're interested, I can share those with you as well. Just a couple of things before people that do want to apply. I would recommend people taking a look at our website, particularly the FAQs and fact sheets that can give you a bit more detail about some of these certification criteria, if you're worried that you might not meet them. But I do think one of the most important things is if you are going to apply, make sure that you're deciding if you want state certification, the federal certification, or both. It's a lot easier to apply, if you know what you want from the get-go, to submit that one application and get both certifications. If we're doing that later, it might be more paperwork for you, and it's easier if we can do that in the beginning. There's a video available on our website that gives some basic information as well too. But if you are interested, please go to our website, get started, create an account. And feel free to contact us with any questions. My information will be at the end of the final slide, but the next slide also includes information for our office. So this is our office's location. We're not currently available to the public, it's remote only. You can still reach us by phone, on social media, or also via email. I would recommend, if you're trying to contact us now, the best contact is probably the technical assistance at OMWBE.wa.gov email. When you send that this email there. It will go directly to one of our certification analysts, and they'll be able to, which is the person that will be reviewing your application. So you get a subject matter expert right away. I used to do that. I can answer those questions too, but that's probably going to be your fastest response to any questions, is going to be sending something there. But please feel free to contact us with any questions you might have. We're happy to help. We're in the business of getting companies certified. We want to make it as easy as possible for you. I know it's not always easy, but that's what we're here for. And now it's going to be Laura talking about SES certifications.
Caleb, before she does that, can we do a couple questions?
Sure. We can do a few. I won't be able to do all of them because we want to make sure we can get to all of our material.
Okay, not a problem. I have a few. Can I do work for a certified OMWBE firm and still apply for my own OMWBE certification?
That can be, if you're doing work in the subcontract, the answer is yes, you can apply. There might be some issues with independence if you are, if your company is completely reliant on the other company for work. But if it's a separate company, and even if you work for another company that's certified, you can definitely get certified, and we should be able to work through you with that. But if you want some specific details on that, I'm happy to answer those. Please feel free to give me, it's just a more complicated answer than maybe I can get to here.
Okay. Does an LGBTQ owned business need to apply as other?
LGBTQ owned businesses are not automatically considered to be socially disadvantaged. Businesses in that sense can apply and show that they've faced discrimination in the business world based on their LGBTQ status and get certified. That's happened in the past, and we can do that. However, they do need to make that showing that they've faced discrimination because of their status. Then we can certify them. However, there's not an automatic, the law doesn't treat them as a woman or a minority just based on their LGBTQ status.
Okay, and another question is, are spousal resources retirement accounts counted?
I think that's talking about the personal net worth. Because Washington's a community property state, how we determine someone's personal net worth is we take if someone is married, we take the combined assets of them and their spouse, lump them together, and then divide by 2. So for example, if combined a spouse and their partner had $2 million in total assets in their personal net worth, we would combine that mix. We'd determine that as to be $1 million for each individual spouse, because that's how the law treats it, is that all assets that are shared in common with the spouse are shared equally. So it depends on where you live, though. If you're living in Oregon, that's not a community property state. We would have to divvy up your assets and determine which one is owned by each individual. So it's looking at the individual's net worth, what that one person's net worth is, regardless of their marital status.
Okay, I'll let that be the last question so we can have Laura continue.
All right. And I'm going to be operating the slides, just so you know, so Laura will be telling me when to go to the next slide. Here we go.
Hi, everyone. So I'm Laura Priftis. I'm with King County's Business Development and Contract Compliance section. And what we do, we have a variety of small business programs. So I'm going to be really talking about our small contractor and supplier certification, which is most commonly referred to as SES certification, as well as a new program that's our ESG innovation plan. So to start with, the SES certification is similar to the OMWBE state certifications, but we have our differences as well. So the purpose of the certification is to increase the opportunities for small businesses to compete for the public contracts through a variety of incentive programs. I will be talking about some of those incentive programs, but I will be talking about King County incentives. We have partner agencies, Port of Seattle, Sound Transit, and Seattle Colleges, who all use SES certification for small business programs, and they have their own incentive programs, so I can only speak to King County's. So you would apply to King County, and King County would do all the certification administration of the SES certification. And then our partner agencies would access our SES database. And there's no cost to apply. Next slide. So I want to start with our goods and services contracts. We have a variety of different goods and services procurements based on the price and some other differences. So for purchases under 10,000, that's what's called a direct buy purchase. And our buyers can go directly to a vendor and purchase goods if it's under $10,000. And we have a very, very lofty goal, and I can't say we're achieving it, but we want to, of 50% of those purchases coming from SES firms. So our buyers are expected to refer to our SES Directory and search for firms to see if there's any firms out there in our directory that can provide the good or service that they're looking for. For purchases between 10 and 50,000, this requires a 3-quote process. So our buyers will be getting quotes from 3 different companies. And then at least one of those quotes must be from an SES firm if there is an SES firm that provides that specific good or service. Then it would go through a low bid process. So the lowest, most responsible bid would get that particular contract. Finally, for the purchases that are over 50,000, these are the publicly bid purchases that you'll see on our procurement site. And what we often will do is what we call a fair market range incentive. And what that means is we will look at the competitive pool of SES firms and we will assess a percentage. So let's say it's a 5% percentage. What happens then is if the low bid comes in, and it is a non-certified firm, we tack on that extra 5%. So now that low bid is 5% higher. If an SES firm comes in with a responsible bid that is within that 5% range, then now that SES firm is now the low bidder and will be awarded that contract. So that's another really good incentive for SES firms. And then the last one is called our SES Accelerator. This is a set-aside program, typically for consulting type services. And this is where SES primes can compete only against SES primes. So it is a set-aside for SES firms. And so you're competing with like-size firms. You're not competing against the bigger firms. And these are for a variety of consulting services. It could be for planning, for program development, change management, management consulting, graphic design and branding. So there's a variety of different programs that we can use the SES Accelerator for. Next slide. So for our architectural engineering and construction contracts, we typically will have a SES percentage applied to that contract. So it will be a percentage, let's say 15%, and the prime contractor or the prime consultant would need to commit to achieving that 15% utilization of SES certified firms in order to either get the evaluation points or be awarded the contract. And so this is a good way for small firms to team up with the larger consulting and contractors. For our engineering and architectural roster, we require our buyers to request a proposal from an SES firm to use this roster. The roster is a good thing for our buyers because they don't have to go through the public procurement process. These are for contracts that are up to $500,000 in fee. They would look through the categories, and if there's an SES firm in that category, they would solicit a proposal from that SES firm, as well as other firms. So the roster is both large and small firms. What we're finding is that many of our agencies are going directly to SES firms to request proposals. So they really are using this as an avenue to work with more small firms. Next slide. So to be eligible for SES certification, similar to what Caleb said, the personal net worth must be below 1.32 million. We also do we do look at spouses' combined assets and divide that in half to ascertain what the individual owner's net worth is, and it excludes primary residence and value of their ownership in the business that they're applying for SES. What is different than the OMWBE's program is that we require personal net worth from each owner. So, so not just the majority owner or owners, but each owner, and they would all have to be below that $1.32 million threshold. The other difference is that we are certifying a little bit smaller sized businesses as small business. So what that means is that the business size would have to be 50% or less of the Small Business Administration's size standard for that industry based on the NAICS code. And that's also based on the average, the last 3 years average gross receipts for the business. So if your primary NAICS code is, engineering services 541330, the Small Business Administration size standard is a little over $16 million. To be eligible for SES, your gross receipts would have to average less than $8 million or less. The final criteria actually doesn't occur until after you're certified. So within the first year of certification, all our SES firms are required to participate in 15 hours of training or business development activities and document that on a form that you would download from our site. And that could be anything. It could be classroom training, but it could be participating in professional associations and conferences and online webinars such as this. Just doing some business coaching or one-on-one technical assistance, networking events. So it's really up to the small business. We know that you know what you need to grow your business. And so we don't really dictate what you need to do, but you do need to do the 15 hours within your first year of certification to maintain your SES. There are 2 ways that you can certify or provide your financial information for certification. One is our traditional method, and that is where you would report your assets on our Excel spreadsheet, and you have to use ours. We can't accept the state's, we can't accept other personal network forms. So you would download the Excel spreadsheet from our site and just complete all your assets, document that that's true and correct, and that would be done for each owner. And you would also provide the last 3 years of your business tax returns. If you have not been in business for 3 years, you would just provide what business taxes you have filed or a statement that you have not yet filed if you're brand new. Alternatively, if you're working with a CPA, you can have the CPA review your personal net worth, review your tax returns for eligibility, and they would complete an affidavit. It would be notarized, and you could submit that in lieu of the traditional method. And I have the website here, and after I will be also sending a bunch of links to our site as well as King County procurement sites. Next slide. As Caleb said, we share the same platform, so our platforms look very similar. So we are doing, we just launched the online certification last year, so it's 100% online. It's very, very secure. It passed all King County IT tests and they're very, very stringent. So all your financial information you would just upload to the system, and it's very secure. You can access both the SES and the OMWBE's directory from our site. And then also, if you have contracts with King County, this is the place where you would go for contract compliance. So for our contracts, Our consultants have to report in payments, and our sub-consultants have to verify those payments and prompt payment. So, you would be notified when you have a contract that you have to perform this. Is a very simple entry on a monthly basis when you get paid, and this is the place where you can do it and manage your certification. Next slide. So this is the dashboard that you would see. Again, it's shared with OMWBE. So what's really wonderful about this is that you can manage all your certifications through this dashboard. So if you are already certified with OMWBE, you can log on through our portal with your login credentials for the OMWBE, your login and your password. What you'll see is a very similar dashboard, but you'll see the King County logo. So that's where you know that you're in the King County site. And from here, you can apply for certification. And then you'll see, and again, you'll manage all your certifications through this dashboard. You just have to make sure that when you are applying or renewing your SES certification, that you're going through the King County portal. Next slide. So one of the exciting things we've done this year is we have launched this Equity and Social Justice Innovation Plan. The SES program has been very, very successful, but we wanted to reach out to more minority and women-owned businesses. So we have this new initiative that you're going to be seeing on a lot of the architectural and engineering and professional services procurements and some technical consulting procurements. And what we do is we ask the prime proposer to assign an aspirational minority and women business enterprise goal and submit an outreach plan. The proposers are scored on the quality of that outreach plan and what actions they're taking to maximize participation. And we are really looking at how they're maximizing. When we evaluate it, that is the key there. Are they really using MWBE firms with meaningful participation and really realistic, and they're helping those firms grow and get some of the work that we have here at King County. So that's how we score. And the MWBE firms must be certified by the state of Washington. So you must be certified as a minority or women business enterprise. So again, this is where the multiple certifications come in. And there are actually other equity and social justice elements to this plan. And I will send out our overview plan to all the registered people here after this meeting with the other links, so you'll get more information on this. Oh, I guess I'm done.
All right. I think if we can go through the directory portion here pretty quickly and maybe get to questions at the end, we'll still should have a few minutes for questions here. So I'm going to talk briefly just about how the certified firm directory works. This is going to be applying for both King County and OMWBE because we use the same software. However, there will be some small differences depending on which site you're using, so just be aware of that. There's the link here is for the certified business directory. Both of us list all certified firms on that directory. And for both organizations, it's the official list of certified firms. So if the company appears on that list, it is currently certified. And this directory is how governments and companies will find certified businesses for work opportunities, or likewise confirm that businesses are certified before using them for any of these certification programs, whether it's going to be for a King County SES, they'll be searching their directory, or if there's a state agency trying to comply with state procurement goals or federal procurement goals, likewise, it'll be our directory for searching that. If your business is already certified, I would really recommend going in and looking your business up in our directory to make sure if there's any errors, or make sure your contact information is correct, things like that. You really want to make sure that these firms, these larger companies and governments can contact you so that they can make you aware of work. Or just if your profile isn't what you want it to be, make sure you contact us and we can work with you on making those edits. This is just giving you an idea of what if you search for one company, what information might be available. This is going to look slightly different for King County, but most of this information is going to be the same. So it's going to be information about your business name, DBA, owner's name, address, phone number, email, county, the organization that's providing the certification type, and the two probably most critical areas here, which we will talk about in more detail, is the certified business description, which is what your business is describing its work as, and then also the commodity codes that your business can perform. So there's lots of different ways for organizations to search in our directory. As you can see here, that's just a snapshot of what someone would be able to search through if they were using it themselves. So firstly, businesses can, or anyone who's searching through this directory can limit by certification type. Because we offer so many different types of certifications at OMWBE, you can see there's a number of different certification types people can limit by. But for King County, I think, Laura, there's only how many?
There's only one certification.
Okay.
Yeah, the SES.
Yeah, so there's not going to be as much limitations there. You can also search by business name, contact person, location, so certain areas or specific reference numbers. But the two primary ways that organizations are going to find your company are through the business description search and then through the commodity code search. So for business descriptions, both with us and King County, when a business applies for certification, they're including a description of their business along with their application, so what their company does. And that's probably, I would say, the most commonly used way to search, at least for our directory, closely followed by the commodity codes, but I do know that's a very common way people are searching for companies. And we, both OMWBE and King County, we can't write your business description for you. We can make suggestions in terms of making sure you're including proper keywords, but business owners, you know your company much better than we ever could. We know your capabilities, but make sure it's including all the keywords that might be appropriate in your industry, so that you will show up in these searches and you can be found for these procurements. And if you describe your business in multiple ways, you're more likely to come up in these searches. Make sure that you're including everything. I'll give an example of what this might look like later. I'll show you exactly what it looks like. For a small difference in the search can lead to a big difference in the search results. But also a well-written business description makes your company stand out when procurement professionals download search results. I think, Laura, you had something to say about this?
Yeah, so when I am, I will help either prime contractors or our buyers find SES firms or certified OMWBE firms, and I will download the results. I typically will use NAICS code, or quite a few NAICS code to search for firms, as well as keywords. But I will download those results, and you can download them from our directories. And there's an Excel spreadsheet, and I will be reviewing all of the different descriptions, and that really tells me more about what that firm can do. And when a buyer or a prime contractor is looking, they see, oh wow, this person looks like they can do what we need. They can go to your website next, or they can go directly to you and get more information, or hopefully a bid. So it is really the business description. I can't emphasize the importance of that enough.
And if you do need ideas about your business description, a couple of recommendations would be to look at just look at your competitors. Look in these certification directories, both SES and ours, especially if you know some successful companies with these certifications. Look at their descriptions to give you an idea of sort of how they might be describing themselves. But I'd also really recommend looking at procurements to see especially if you're looking for specific types of work from specific agencies, look and see how they're describing their work and make sure that your business description matches with how they're describing themselves. And also another way to search is by commodity codes. As Laura mentioned, this is also another major way that people search. I'm not sure how many people here are aware of what the commodity codes are and how they work. but I'm going to give a brief description of it. Both of our certification types use what's called the North American Industry Classification System, or NAICS codes. This is an actual international system between Canada, the United States, and Mexico that attempts to break down every single type of work that any company could ever do into a code. Sometimes it does a very, very good job of breaking down specific industries very cleanly into neat bundles of different types of companies. Sometimes it doesn't, but it does the best it can. And this is also the system that's used for the federal government for all of their contracting as well. So if you do want to work for the federal government, it's a good idea to become familiar with this system. So these codes can have anywhere from 2 to 6 digits, with more digits being a more specific code. So a 2-digit code covers a very broad industry, and a 6-digit code is as specific as possible. OMWBE and King County have slightly different systems for assigning codes. Us at OMWBE, we will only assign codes for businesses that can show us that they can perform that specific type of work that's in that code. And likewise, we can only provide 6-digit codes. We are only providing the most specific code possible to these businesses. And for King County, Laura?
Yeah, so for King County, we assign a primary code, which is your primary business code, and that's how we certify you by that code. But you can put in as many other codes as you want to be visible in searches. So you can, and we don't limit it to the 6-digit code. You can use the 2-digit most broad code if you want. But another thing is that our procurement office is going to be moving to a whole new procurement system. And they have in the past used NIGP codes, which is a government commodity code. Well, they're moving to NAICS now. So it's going to be really critical for you as vendors to register on the new site and register with the correct NAICS codes, because that's how you're going to get notices of procurements. And the way the new system is going to work is they're going to have basically a parent and a child. So they're going to have the industry group, which is a 4-digit code, and that is the parent. And then the 6-digit codes that kind of fall underneath it will be the child codes. And if you pick the 4-digit code, you're going to get notifications for everything, all the children codes, all the 6-digit codes underneath that. That might be good if you want to get all the notifications and don't want to be left out of any other any procurements. Or you can be more specific and really choose those 6-digit codes. But the procurements will be assigned NAICS codes, and that's how you'll receive the procurements. So there's going to be a lot more communication on this coming up. The new procurement system is scheduled to be implemented in the fall. And I will send out some more information about it after this meeting.
All right. Another note on finding the correct codes. This isn't, sorry, there's a trash truck outside my house and it's making a lot of noise. But finding the correct codes can also be difficult sometimes. Just an example here of 2 codes that the title of the code doesn't give you a very good idea of what they do, and the difference in the code can be minute sometimes. So for example, 541990 is for all other professional, scientific, and technical services. There's also another code, which is 541690, which is other scientific and technical consulting services. If you're like me, those mean the exact same thing. So it's a good idea to take a look at some of the actual resources for these NAICS codes. Underneath each one of these codes are a number of sub-indices. OMWBE will use those in their certifications. King County won't. However, it's a good idea to take a look at those so you can see, regardless of which one you're using, to see where your specific company fits. Both the US Census's website and NAICS.com provide a lot more information about what these NAICS codes look like. They provide specific examples of types of companies underneath these codes. In addition to NAICS.com will provide some actual real life companies that work underneath these codes. And for these codes, we would recommend looking at other businesses for procurements and procurements for ideas similar to the business description. I know for a lot of state work, there will be contacting specifically based on these codes. So make sure if you're looking to do work for a specific state agency, look how they're breaking down their codes, and you can see in their procurements, they'll usually be listed on their contracts, and then you can make sure that your codes match what they're looking for.
I second that.
And I think you had something here, Laura.
Oh yeah, so here is an example of using NAICS codes and keywords together. So I was looking for a facilitator. King County often uses facilitators for consensus building, program development, things like that. Well, there's no NAICS code for a facilitator. So I selected a variety of different NAICS codes where a facilitator may fall, and I got 297 firms. Then I added the keyword facilitate, but I did not, I just did a partial of the word so I can catch facilitate, facilitation, facilitating. And from there I got, I narrowed it down to 43 firms. So it just shows the importance of having the right keywords and the right NAICS codes together.
And just really quickly, I'm going to show you a real-world example of what that looks like, something that I dealt with in searching for firms for some of our state agencies here. I'm just going to go to our certified directory, and this should pop up. Actually, it looks like we have quite a few questions. I might just skip that. Effectively, it's really quickly that if you're searching for software developer on our certified business directory, you don't find any companies because most people are describing themselves as doing software development, which just there's 0 companies that come up when you search for software developer. But if you search for software development, you get in like 30 or more firms. So just as another note, as sort of hammering home, making sure that your business description includes a description of what you do in a way that someone might be searching for you is a very, very good idea to make sure that state agencies and contractors can find you. And that's it, and we have some time for questions.
Great, and there's a lot of people who have some questions. One of the first ones I want to ask is, just so everyone knows, we will be sharing the presentation because there's some links that they're looking to be able to use in the future. So, but I think we can provide that presentation along with the recording, correct?
Of course, yeah, I will send that presentation out shortly after this to you, Darcy, and then if you want to share it with all the attendees, I think you have their contact information.
I do. I will definitely do that. There was another question. I believe this one is for Laura. Are small businesses listed on the directory?
In the SES directory?
Yes.
Yeah, all SES certified firms are listed in the SES directory.
Okay.
And that might also be for us too, because there's the SPE certification that we offer, which is the federal small business. Those are listed in our directory, but because that's a certification we provide for the federal small business. If you're registered with the Department of Enterprise Services WEBS system as a small business, that will not show up as a sort of self-designation and doesn't and is not a certification we provide. So if you have that, that will not show up on our certified directory, but the SBE certification for federal contracting that we provide will show up on our certification directory.
Okay, thank you. Laura, this question is for you too. Where can we find the form to document our 15 hours of training for SES?
I'll send a list of links to you, Darcy, to distribute, and I'll have that on the list. It would be either through the diversity management compliance system, or there's also a link on our BDCC webpage, and I'll send that out.
Awesome. And this is for both you and Caleb. How long does the certification last, and is it renewed each year?
I'll start with that. It's a little bit complicated because the federal certification renews annually. So that's the DBE, ACDBE, or SPE. It's once every year. It's a lot less documentation. Once you're certified, you just provide the most recent tax return and form that you sign. And then the state certification, renews every 3 years. So federal is every 1 year, states every 3 years.
Okay.
And
Similar renewal.
and SDS is every 3 years.
Okay, great. So that's good to know. There was another question regarding why is the threshold so low? This is for you, Laura. I believe it was the 10,000 annually or monthly, if it's a service. That's what they were talking about.
Regulated by state law. So state law tells public agencies how much they can go direct buy, how much they can get, the 3-quote process, because we are responsible for taxpayers' funds. So that's where the quotes come in, the 3-quote, or the intent to bid on construction or goods and services. Yeah, we have to do whatever the law tells us to do. And anything above 50,000 has to go through some kind of public procurement process, with the exception of the A&E roster.
Okay.
As a note for the state, for state agencies, the direct buy limit has recently changed. I'm not sure if this has gone down to counties and the like at the moment, but it's been increased from $10,000 to $30,000, and certified firms, including OMWBE certified firms, the limits increase is much higher at $40,000. So it's a much easier to use that direct buy contracting now for state agencies, and even easier if you're certified.
Awesome.
Yeah, that'll probably trickle down to us. I'll have to look into that.
Great, thank you both. Another question was, does certification help with PPE?
More time, can you repeat that? Sorry.
Does certification help in offering PPE?
Certification helps in contracting with the government in general.
Right.
So that can be assisting in providing PPE to government agencies that are purchasing it. It's not specific to PPE or any specific good or service. But if a state agency is looking to purchase PPE and you're a certified business and you are looking to sell it to the state agency, it can give you a leg up in contracting against your non-certified peers.
Okay. This is another question. Do we need to have an outside accountant verify net worth and small business size? I believe I already answered that and I said no, but in case I was wrong, please go ahead and answer that.
No, for our CPA affidavit, you would go to a CPA. It has to be a licensed CPA, and that form is notarized. But you don't have to use that method. You can self-report through the personal net worth form and submitting your taxes. So no CPA is needed for that.
Okay. Someone came a little late. Are there any plans to add transgender people to the OMWBE certification? That's a Caleb question.
Currently, I don't know of any plans to change that at the moment. However, transgender people probably have a very good case to be made for any sort of for the individual showing if they are not eligible based on their original gender, if they faced any sort of discrimination for their change or their current their gender. So I think there's not anything currently adding that in there. Also, what we're looking at for gender is what someone tells us for, if you identify as a woman, you put yourself down as a woman on this form, we're going to typically accept that. We're not looking into what your gender says on your driver's license or things like that. So.
Okay. Would this opportunity be for a clothing business or salon business? For either one of you, I'm not sure who that question was supposed to be for. Came to me privately.
I can start with this, and if Laura, if you have anything to add, please do. But most of our certifications are primarily for working with the government. So retail and like a clothing business or salon business might not have as much opportunities under the program as some other businesses, just because the government doesn't buy a lot of clothing or doesn't contract a lot with salons. However, you would get at least for the state certification on our side, regardless of what your business wants to do, it does give you access to a linked deposit loan program, which can give you a benefit there. And if there is some opportunity for you to contract with the government, it would give you a benefit, although it might be limited for your specific business type.
Gotcha.
And for King County, clothing, we look for uniforms, occasional promotional T-shirts, things like that, but not a lot. But uniforms and things like that, we definitely do have a need for.
Awesome. And I think this question is for you, Laura. Is 10,000 annual or monthly if it's a service?
It is an annual.
Okay. And just another note for everyone, we will be sending out the presentation and we will send out the recording for you so that you will be able to listen to this at your own leisure. Again, if you have any questions, Laura and Caleb's information is on the presentation, as you can see below. Make sure you write it down if you need it immediately, but we will get you the information for the presentation and the recording soon. Today. We'll make sure it's today. Okay, I don't see any other questions. I think, okay, I think I answered. Oh, someone came up with another question. Does a company need to apply for federal SPE certification to be certified statewide?
So there's two different small business. There's a small business self-designation through the you can register as a small business on the Department of Enterprise Services WEBS, which is Washington's electronic business solution system, and you can be notified for state projects that you're a small business through that. Our certification is statewide, but it's specific to federally funded transportation projects, and you would need to get certified with us to take advantage of that. So I'm not sure how more to answer the question. If you have more details, please contact me.
Yeah, and King County uses SPE as well as DBE certifications on our federally funded projects. So it is a good idea to be to get certified through the federal SPE to maximize your opportunities.
Awesome. Well, we do not have any more questions. I do want to take this time just to talk a little bit about Tabor 100. It'll be very quick. If anyone has interested in Tabor 100, I am here for you. I am the membership chair there. My email address, and I will include it in the email, but it's membership@tabor100.org. And we will be more than happy to give you more information regarding the opportunities that you have of becoming a member of Tabor 100. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to give me a jingle. Laura, Caleb, anything else?
That's about it.
No.
I just want to thank everyone for coming. I really appreciate you taking the time to listen to our presentation, and really encourage anyone with individual questions, anything at all, please reach out to me. I'm happy to help.
Thank you very much.
Yes, reach out to me, and thank you, Darcy, and thank you, Tabor.
Yeah, absolutely.